I want to welcome one and all to this week's edition of the Chroma Team Roundtable. Today I'm joined by none other than Perdu, Jedi, Osbra, Luke, and Victor. We are going to be talking through the markets, giving you our hot takes on Bitcoin, altcoins, and the wider market in general, and just kind of getting you guys set up for the week to come. The idea of this being a weekly stream is that we kind of get you ready for the trading week ahead for the next 7 days, bringing us to the next roundtable. So with that in mind, I'm going to go straight to Perdu. We're talking about Bitcoin, looking at this Bitcoin price action. Obviously, we've been somewhat range bound for the last month or so, going back to the start of February. We're now coming into the we're almost at the halfway point of March, which is kind of crazy. And Bitcoin is still range bound, but pushing towards the range highs. I know you have quite a bullish outlook on BTC. Talk us through your take on the market right now.
Yeah, not particularly bullish. I know we're still range bound. Like ETH has been ranging between 1920-ish and 2030-ish. But now it's the first day that we broke above that 230 2030 level. So I'm willing to share my screen. Let's get it on here. So yeah, basically I really like Ethereum here at the moment. I think we take out these highs that that we've been building there on the 4 hour. I expect we have CPI data tomorrow, and I expect that we have like a small dip tomorrow morning in London before taking these highs again. So as you can see on the 4 hour, it has been really steady grinding up, and usually that doesn't really end well. So I'm expecting either on CPI data tomorrow or before that somehow these all these build up lows get taken. If you zoom out to the 1 hour, you can see them better. So yeah, so I think either tomorrow on CPI data we get like one more pump to take out these highs here into the 2200 level, and then we roll over. That would be my best case scenario. So, but what I'm seeing here on BTC dominance is well kind of dangerous for altcoins because basically what I'm seeing is that altcoins don't really pump with BTC at the moment. So as you can see, we had a small rotation here last week Wednesday, when BTC dominance dropped a lot. It was the week of the NFP data, and you may mostly see that seek and destroy pattern, that you pump on Tuesday, then retrace on Wednesday, and you pump again on Thursday just to roll over again on Friday. And I think we're kind of in that same environment this week with the CPI data tomorrow, where we pump into CPI data, we roll over on tomorrow, and then we see some relief on Thursday, maybe to make like a lower high on BTC and on some altcoins before we roll over again on Friday, because the macro has been super uncertain, so people don't really like to hold longs over the weekend. As we all know, crypto is 24/7, so any news related item of our orange man, and we nuke during the weekend. So I think Friday will be the big risk off day again. And the environment has changed because usually the Friday was the best day. As you I think you mentioned it in your channel as well, that you saw that it was like a slow bleed from Monday till Thursday, and then we had a pump on Friday. But the last few weeks, what I've been seeing is that we have some good PA to work with during the week, but then on Friday we see a lot of de-risking going into the weekend.
Perfectly.
All right, all good. So you said it. We are range bound, and now we're approaching the range high. I will just share my screen. Let me know if you can see. So as you can see here, I have my value area high. Price earlier today just tagged and rejected from it. So I would say technically I'm cautiously bearish because I do believe we could have a pullback from here to, let's say, 68K. We have a point of control composite right here. So that would be a very good area to go long, in my opinion, especially with a CPI tomorrow, as Perdu said. I'm expecting people to risk off before CPI. CPI also could be bad. It could be a hot data tomorrow. Why? Because oil prices and gas prices increased, and it has an impact on inflation. So we could potentially see a little spike on inflation. So it means market dropping the first minutes following the release of the data. But then I think people will just look at the details of the CPI figures, and they will see that it's because of oil prices going up and because of the war, etc. And if people are expecting the war to end soon, and the latest statements from officials, whatever they come from, the USA or Israel, tend to say they don't want to have an endless war, to take the words from the Israeli foreign minister. So I think if tomorrow a dip is given, that would be a gift for lungs. Because yeah, as you guys also said, especially Victor, even though we are range bound, the structure that we had on low time frame has been quite bullish. We are yet to break that level and flip it as support. We failed to do it earlier last week. So let's see if this week we can do it. Otherwise, we're gonna stay range bound for a little bit. And I would be a bit more bold and say I confirm, and it strengthened what I said last week during the last roundtable. I think 60K was our local bottom, and I don't think we go lower than that. Why? Just quickly, simply because with all the bad news that we had, sellers failed to push Bitcoin below 65K. So I don't see any reason why it would go below 60K. Like, what could be wrong that the risk, what could be worse than the risk of a World War III? Uh, I don't think there is anything. So I would say, yeah, 60K might be our bottom. But once again, the last time I said this, 24 hours later, we were at 60K. So take this with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, that's great. And we are going to cover the Iran situation in a little bit more detail. In fact, I might come to Jedi about that in about 5 minutes, just with regards to Trump's comments. He seems to be pivoting towards a de-escalation in Iran, and I want to get the panelists' takes on that. But for just quickly, I want to get Luke's take on Bitcoin at the moment. Luke, I know you're more of a low time frame trader, so sometimes maybe the high time frame, contextual time frame is maybe not so relevant to you. But what are you looking at in the charts right now? What has your attention? Are you leaning more bearish or bullish heading into the rest of the week?
Yeah, so again, for me, it's like you say, just day to day with Bitcoin. So fairly neutral overall, and just taking each day as it comes. I think at the moment, the trade that I wanted to get, like where price is now, would be a short, but I don't think we're quite high enough for that. So if anyone was in the trading room, we know we were looking for like a little spike up, take liquidity, drop down, get the move up. We kind of got that. It just wasn't really like that tradable. So we're at a decent point of interest here with, again, this has been working really well lately, just marking off like internal highs from within the range. We had it from when we got the big drop down last week that we got the short from, and it's a similar situation again here. So if you're the better trade for me at the moment is a short, but I don't really know where you would take that, because like the range point of control is very close. We're looking at 68 to 69K being decent support. We've already just come back down to like kind of test 69K again here. So yeah, I think there's a chance that we can continue to push higher. I'm still looking for now at levels within this range. The thing for me is, if it does continue to creep up, this kind of price action is really constructive. So what we're seeing here is just like pretty steady moves up. Like they're little impulses, but they're being corrected on like every single occasion. So whenever we get a push higher, it is corrected. We push higher again, it's corrected. It's push higher again, corrected, push higher again. I would expect that to continue. So maybe a slight drop here, but if this does continue and we do just keep on pushing up, like like this kind of thing, then the chances of actually breaking out from a level like when we got to 74k last week, the chances of breaking out on this occasion would be a lot stronger. So what you don't want to see is just fast move up that cannot be sustained by the market. That's what we got last week, straight into a good VWAP, get smacked back down again. But this just slower grind will mean that if we do break 74k again, that should give us the fuel quite easily to get to 80 to 82, which is the next area that I'm really looking at on the chart here. So we'll see how it goes. We're still trading within this range at the moment. But if things carry on as they have done this week, then I think a breakout is quite likely. Yeah.
That's great. Thanks, Luke. Perdu has just asked me for my hot take, so I won't. You know me, I can't turn down an opportunity to yap. So I will very quickly share my screen and just give the people what they want. And by people, I mean one person. Yeah, if you guys know that I am a range maxi, so for me, this is a very clear range. I've kind of spoken about this already. We have value going back to the start of February to now. This is fairly standard range bound PA, in my opinion. We've had deviations of the high, we've had a deviation of the low. And for my money, this is probably not where you want to be flipping bullish, right? I think that something I've spoken about before is how these rotations give quite clean price action if you know how to trade them. And for me, the rotation that we're seeing now, or the rotation that we've just seen, is a rotation from the lows to the highs here, from value area low to value area high. And I think that for me personally, longing here with the idea that we're going to push higher is dangerous. I think you're basically hoping for more bullish news from Iran for that to happen and for the stock market to rebound. In the absence of which, I think that the more likely scenario is that, as Luke kind of alluded to, is that we go down. That being said, I do think that more positive news from Iran. For instance, if Trump continues to speak about de-escalation, continues to speak about an increasing likelihood of peace, then I do think that there's every chance that we're going to break higher and run the 74k high, and even push up towards 80k. In which case, I'll probably be looking for shorts again, because I think the high time frame trend is still very much down, and I think that the eventual leg, or the eventual high time frame trending leg, when it comes, is going to be to the downside, as I've explained before. But for now, I think that we're in a heavily headline risk dominated market. I think that Trump saying the right or wrong thing, depending on your point of view, could send price flying against you or with you. And I think for that reason, you just have to play it safe. This is still an unforgiving market. It is a market that rewards guys who play things conservatively, who TP aggressively, and guys who get in, make their money, and get out again. I think that the time for swing trading will come. I do not think that it is now. I think that if you wanted to swing something here, if you wanted to make the argument that this is a rounding bottom, this is the low, this is a high time frame reversal, then yeah, you do need to see price kind of breaking up into this 75, 76 area. You need to see an uptick in volume, and you need to see some measure of acceptance at those levels. Now, what acceptance means to different traders will mean different things, but effectively you want to see, no clear rejection when we come up here. You want to see price creating value up at these levels and then pushing higher. That's effectively it. Wow, I have no idea why my why my mouse is so janky. I hope you guys can see what I'm talking about. Eating up our time. No, I just finished. There we go. There we go. I want to go to Jedi now. Jedi, let me unshare my screen here. Jedi, I want to get your take on not just Bitcoin, not just the crypto market, but Trump's comments. And Osbra alluded to them. I kind of mentioned them there. He has said that. Let me just find the exact thing, the exact quote. So he said, "I think the war is very complete." He said, "We took a little excursion in Iran to get rid of some evil, but it was a short-term excursion." And he says, "I think the war will end soon, very soon." This is also in conjunction with talks that he's had with Putin, or alleged talks, where they discussed ending their respective wars in Iran and Ukraine. So we were already seeing this. The oil market pumped and dumped yesterday. It was one of the biggest swings in the history of that market. And the stock market and crypto both dumped and then pumped. We saw a huge sell-off on weekly open yesterday morning. followed by a rebound as kind of these overtures towards peace came through. So I'm curious to know, what's your take on this? Are we idiots for, is the market idiotic for believing the things that come out of this man's mouth? What's your hot take on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the trajectory of the market is very much dictated by algos, because he can't be trusted, and I think he is, in all intents and purposes, rather unhinged, and he's very much being governed by emotional disposition as opposed to, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like there's much strategy going into the way that this thing has been approached. You know, 1 minute they're in negotiations, and then the next minute, you know, someone says something that there's unhappiness, and then they're launching missiles. So I think, I don't think for any stretch of the imagination that Iran are the good guys. Don't get me wrong here. But I think they've, in a way, kind of been forced to behave the way that they are behaving. And I think they're starting to realize that they also have cards to play. And it's obviously affecting everything. I don't really trust where we are going. Like, you know, it's sometimes you can get a good sense of like what the outcome's going to be, and I think it's impossible for anyone to try and predict what that looks like. And I think that's the reason why oil has behaved like a shitcoin over the last 4 days. I mean, I've never seen anything like this. I mean, it's just insane. It was at $120, and then it's down at $85. And I think that's probably your new Bitcoin dominance chart right there. Just watch what oil's doing at the moment as your indicator. And I'm not going to go on sentiment and opinion. I'm just going to look at that chart, and I'll tell you exactly what's going on right now. And it's just, I think the market's confused. I don't think anyone is stupid or dumb or clever for that matter. I think it's just playing it according to the algos for the most part. And then the guys who are making the money are the guys who I think have the balls to take those positions. And I think luck is a big part of it. I've never been this aggressive in the market in terms of taking profits. I mean, I longed oil for the first time in my entire trading life on the weekend, and I don't think I've ever been that scared, to be honest. I mean, I made money, but that was because I've become like ultra aggressive on taking profit, and it's been a game changer for me over the last 2-3 months. So if there's anything that I can impart here, is that if you do see an opportunity, and I mean, Luke's spoken about this, and why I think Luke has been, I think in many ways, an inspiration around this, like, fuck this shit, dude. I'm going to take profits when I see the opportunity, and I'm not going to sit around and wonder what happens next. So I think it's unpredictable. If you see any kind of value in any kind of move, whether it's value areas in the high or the lows, take your chances, and then be really, really, really hardcore on your stops, and I think you'll make money. So I'm not sure whether that answers your question, Folis, but I think it's, yeah, I think it's very, very, very fucking evil territory that we're in at the moment, and it's on both sides, and I think we've just got to be very aware of that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a horrible thing at the end of the day, because our job is to speculate on the markets, right? And we're looking at this war with our market analyst hats on, and we're, trying to determine what the effects of this are going to be on the market when, there's a humanitarian issue that is far more important happening on the ground, and people's lives at risk. And you mentioned the merits of Iran and it being an evil regime, and the good guys versus the bad guys narrative that's being spun on social media. And of course, we know that it's seldom that black and white. There are always gray areas, and the unfortunate reality is that within those gray areas, many people suffer and many people die. But we are looking at this from a market POV and trying to assess what the effects this is going to be. This is going to have on the market. And yeah, you mentioned the oil turnaround. I think it was the biggest intraday reversal on oil in something like a decade. Kind of crazy when you think about it, that it went from 80 something dollars all the way up to 120, I think it was, and then ended the day negative, which is absolutely wild. Luke, I saw you had a comment in the chat there about Trump. I wonder, can you expand on that point? Can you maybe give us the TLD, or maybe, sorry, not the TLD, but you gave the summary in the chat. Can you expand on that point?
Yeah. I mean, again, like, I don't pay too much attention to it, and I don't go into all of the details of what's going on. So I'm not that well informed. But what I can say, and what, like, from what I'm seeing is, I mean, Trump's a businessman, and he wants to be running the country and running his everything to do with himself like a business, like a market is like itself. And if he has the opportunity to manipulate the markets and to make money for the US, then he will do that. And I think we often, like, yeah, okay, there's, I don't want to be like kind of, it's kind of shitty, but I don't think this is being done for humanitarian reasons as much as it's being done for business reasons. And I think that's the case with pretty much any war. Is they don't really care. Like, is there going to be a regime change? I don't think they really care about that. I think the things that we have seen of what's going on, and we said this when there was, like, I said this a couple of weeks before everything started kicking off. I was like, the best thing to be doing right now is to be risk off until actually something happens. And that's when you're going to get the volatility. That's when you're going to start to see markets rebound. And that is precisely what we've seen. It's like the markets are moving down in fear. And then as soon as something kicks off, then it's like the fear has been overshot. Like you say earlier, what could be worse than the possibility of World War III? Like, nothing we're getting right now is as bad as World War III. It hasn't actually happened. We, like, yeah, okay, there's some shit that's going on, but the markets overextend to the downside and then bounce back up in most cases. The other thing that we were saying is, like, what asset am I most bullish on in whenever something like this happens? And that would be oil, because the most obvious thing, like the reason why they're doing this, a lot of it is business, is to do with oil. And it's to do with just creating confusion, moving the markets. And I think that's the way that the world works a lot more now, is just, I think, like, politics in general, without going down a big rabbit hole, but is moving much more towards a business side of things anyway. And politics is business, and is the markets. They're no longer separate things. They are, like, they're one and the same, and it's happening all over the world. So yeah, I think that there was a plan with this. I think that, like, we're never going to know what the plan is. We're never going to know what his thoughts are. Like, so much, like, is he just reacting to what's going on? Like, is Iran reacting to what's going on? But we've seen it so many times. There's escalation, there's de-escalation, there's escalation, there's de-escalation, and it just seems to be like it reaches a point in which, like, the market hits a tipping point and then it all starts to calm down again. And I just think that that's probably what's most likely to continue here, is that it's all going to calm down again once everything's happened, and that we probably see the markets start to recover, and all this talk about, yeah, is there going to be regime change? Is there, like, what's going to go on with Israel and Palestine? I think that's just going to quieten down again. And unfortunately, nothing like humanitarian is really going to change from this. It's just going to be the same thing, and then it'll start up again in a year's time, probably after the midterms. Things will settle down, and then maybe after the midterms, there'll be a re-escalation again. So yeah, that's my thoughts. Is it's just like, I've just had this stuff so many times before that it's like, yeah, it seems to just repeat the same pattern. Yeah.
Yeah, and at a certain point, you just stop believing it. A point that I made, and this is probably something that you're also aware of, is that Trump is the kind of guy who does like to play the kind of dumber than he seems card. And this is something that we saw the first time that I saw it in politics was with your former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, where it was acutely obvious that this guy was far, far smarter than he let on, but he played up the dumb card to appeal to the lowest common denominator of voter. And I heard stories about Bojo, speaking at a conference, and before he went on stage, he would literally 30 seconds before he would mess up his hair and change up his tie so he looked like a fucking mess, and he would come onto the stage and he would, like, pretend that he didn't know where he was. He'd be like, well, what conference is this? And everyone loved it, and he was all in the headlines, and everyone's like, yeah, he's just like me. And I think that maybe Trump's not quite the same, but I think he does play up the audacity card, the sensationalist card, the oh, I'm dumb, I don't know what's happening card, right? Because it appeals to people who think that it's kind of funny or charming or whatever. But I think that he's far smarter than people let on. Osbra.
Yeah. So before I give my take on this situation, I want to reinstate that I was very supportive of Trump's program and Trump politics, and I'm also someone that is very, very conservative. Um, the thing is, I think people love to worship Trump and think he's smarter than he is. Actually, I disagree with you for this, because like I have a very, very simple question, and it's open to all the panel. Give me one thing that is a net positive coming from this war in Iran. One thing that is net positive for either the USA, Israel, or for Iran. Nothing, right? He said, because a lot of people on socials are saying he has a plan. He had a plan. It's a 4D chess, like he's some Carlos Maxen, whatever, Magnus Carlsen, sorry, of geopolitics, you know. But in fact, he said he wanted to change the regime. He worsened it. He worsened it. I mean, he said he wanted to appoint someone that he would choose. In fact, to have someone even more radical than the former supreme leader, right? And that is 30 years younger. So it would be worse for longer because the other one would have ended up dying in like 5 years, 6, 7 years, something like that. So it's worse. He said he wanted to save Iran. At the end of the day, the regime is worse, but also it killed civilians, and most likely, it's not an opinion, but according to the facts, he probably killed like schoolgirls, right? So nothing that he planned to do actually happened. Absolutely nothing. Prices increased regarding oil. Inflation will most likely increase. We'll see tomorrow or the next month the repercussions. The situation is worse in Iran, so it will be worse for Israel medium long term, because we know about the religious disagreement between the mullahs and between Israel, between the Jews, Hebrews. So nothing that he planned to do has actually happened like he wanted. And as I said on Monday, and this is why I was bullish on Monday, I think it was just framed and trapped because he realized that nothing that he said he would do happened, and that he has to get away of this mess quick, like real quick, because he's playing something very important. He's playing the midterms. And you saw a wave, probably the biggest wave of hate Trump would have had since he got instated as the president of the United States, coming from both leftist and the right wing as well. Even the conservatives started to disagree with Trump because he bypassed the Congress to do the war in Iran, because he worsened the purchasing power of US citizens, and because he just fucked up the situation in the Middle East, right? And on top of it, he just like made the regime even worse in Iran, and he is not going to choose the next supreme leader. He also said he wanted to take the oil. He will end up with absolutely nothing. So I don't think Trump is like a winner in that situation. The thing I do agree with, the thing that I do agree with, is that he's a great communicant. He's extremely good at communication, because even when he's losing, he makes it appear like he's winning. So even when the situation is shit, it's like we win. Like it was just a short excursion. It was just like a small walk around. We did what we had to do, and now we're leaving. But it's not really how things are. It's not what happened. It's communication, and something people should not forget. Communication is extremely important in politics. Extremely important, and it works. It works pretty well, and Trump is really good uh, with the communication. He has like awesome communication. I give him that. But to say he's so smart and everything was happened as it was planned initially, I think it's wrong. It's an opinion. I think factually I'm right, but I will say it's an opinion to not look like have a big ego or something. But let's say it's an opinion. I think it's wrong. I think it's quite wrong. And another thing is just in deep shit. If we Trump also spends a lot of time on socials, right? He sees and he has like a lot of he has like a big team. If they saw the backlash on social medias, like people were turning around. Even remember that even Charlie Kirk was against uh, Trump will and well, before it was Trump, it was more like Israel's will to go to war. He was against. He was against as like a very conservative guy. So I just want to cut it before people say it's a leftist take to say you shouldn't go to war, whatever. No, like one of the most conservative guy was against,
Yeah,
and
I
Trump
think
saw the
more than
backlash.
sorry, yeah, I think more than any other world leader that I know of anyway, he really cares about public opinion and people's perceptions
Exactly,
of him, and that has been the case
especially from his
since his
side.
yeah, that has been the case since his first term, and I think a lot of his decision making is influenced by that in a way that we have never really seen with someone with this much power. Perdu, want to go to your take on this topic, but then I also want to move on and talk about altcoins. So you can stay on the mic. I'm going to ask you about this topic first, and then we're going to pivot into altcoins, and you can tell me what you're looking at in that sphere.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk a lot about the macro, but eventually, the charts are also quite telling, right? I mean, oil pumping 30% on a day, like having that huge blow off top, that usually says that you get a big nuke afterwards, or you see some tensions getting solved, what we saw yesterday. And now basically, if I just focus on the charts today and leaving all the noise behind, I really see, um, like after BTC tested that 69K level, basically if I look at all the charts that I'm using for years now, that like the total chart, total 2 chart, total 3 chart, they're all shaping up pretty nicely. So if I solely base my opinion on the charts, I would say we see more upside before we see more downside. The only thing is, of course, that CPI can spoil like ruin the fun. But for now, I think we're on the path to 674, 75K, and yeah, that's how I'm gonna trade it for now. Regarding altcoins, I don't know if you wanna. Shall I cover that already or?
Please, yeah, I want to pivot now. I want to talk about altcoins. Obviously, I mentioned in when I announced this stream, I said, ETH is reclaiming 2K, Sol's back above 85. Certain altcoins look okay, but actually, dominance has been on a bit of a tear over the last
Yeah,
day or
definitely.
two. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it hasn't been an ideal environment, but there are certain outliers. I'm just curious to know. I don't really, for the first time in a while, I don't really have any altcoins that are really standing out to me. I mean, the one that I've been looking at quite a lot, Pippin, is actually down a little bit bad. Also looking at maybe CC, BCH hype, obviously maybe one we want to talk about. I think that's regularly been the most requested chart markup request in my streams over the last few weeks. But I'm curious to know what's on your watch list. What has your attention?
Yeah, basically I have 3 coins at the moment. Let's keep it simple. I have Flow on my radar. I missed this narrative while I was on holiday last week, but they announced that they removed the how you call it, the danger tag on Binance, and on all the South Korean exchanges it got relisted instead of delisted. Basically, Flow was one of the biggest projects of Facebook back in the days, like 4 years ago when they launched, and they had a valuation of like 4 billion, and now it's trading at 100 million. They have a pretty big roadmap ahead, and the team is still pretty crazy. Like all the big names are involved. They work closely with Disney, with NFL and NBA. So I think at 100 million market cap, it's really undervalued at the moment. It came from 4 billion to 100 million, and now basically it's at a steal, and it feels like the team is really pushing for renewed marketing plans. Like I said, a new roadmap. It is kind of in the trend of the NFT, which has been dead for a long time. But with the OpenSea TGE of next month, I think this can, yeah, it already has some momentum. But when we have the higher time frame breakout, and we dip into that 60 or 6 cents level again, I'm really curious where this will take us. The 10-10 wick is at 12 cents, so yeah, it just bottomed since a long time. And I will do a write up in the fundamental analysis chat about this one. Another one that's on my radar has been Tao. They have been working very closely on the cloud narrative. I think you can build your own. I'm not really familiar with the whole cloud and build your own bot narrative, but I saw that Tao is building it, and it's doing. It's the one project that is actually building a good AI agent and around that narrative. So yeah, it reclaimed that $200 level, which has been a psychological round number to overcome. And I think that this can easily trade back to the old yearly support level in 236, which is a nice 20% move. Yeah, Lighter, I'm gonna remove that one from our watch list. It has been pure cancer to trade, this one. I thought the $1 bounce would give at least a bounce back to 110, but we stalled at 1.08. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes there, but they have been working closely with Robinhood. They have been integrating with Robinhood, and also with Coinbase, they have close ties. But I don't know. Like it has been nuking since inception. Like this chart is actually, if you look at this, it's horrendous. But yeah, I still think if you're like short and you have been short on Lighter, I think most shorts will close around the $1 mark, which we just swept. So I might give it one more try, but from a TA perspective, it looks really, really bad. So yeah, for me, Flow, Tao, definitely some other artificial intelligence project like Near that has been proven itself since a long time already. And Grass is showing a lot of strength lately. I saw the revenue numbers of Q1 came out and they were really positive. It's a product people actually use. So it has been really resilient during all the dips we had. So I'm willing to trade this above 37 cents if we close above the 2026 high, which is 37 cents. So if we get a weekly close above there, I'm willing to swing long it with my stops below 30 cents, and we hopefully trade it back towards 50 cents or so.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. Jed, I want to get your take now on the altcoin market. Anything has your attention? Anything that you are watching this week?
Yeah, flow's been good. I love the breakdown that Perdu just gave. Like obviously a lot of history there, and it seems like the market's really enjoying their story and their narrative. And I think it's just going to carry on going, to be honest. I think for me right now is that I'm not focused on particular projects. I'm playing it by the day and by volume.
Yeah,
So
definitely, that's
I've
good.
just been
Yeah.
I've just been watching what's happening like on opens and closes, and then is there continuation, whether it's on the upside or the downside, and then all I'm doing is that I'm scalping. So it's very situational for me. I think there's also like a little bit of gamble in it as well, but then I can argue that I'm compensating for gamble by having really tight stops. And it seems to be working for me. It's been working now for a number of weeks. Um, I'm actually enjoying myself, and it's been quite a long time since I've actually enjoyed trading, and then also not feeling like I need to trade all the time. Like that's been like a huge shift for me, is that I'm not really concerned that I need to be in every trade, and if I don't chase it, then I'm going to lose out. So I'm just, some days I don't trade, I don't do anything, and then other days I'll do like 5 or 6, and out of those 5 or 6, I'm like making money on 4 and losing on 2, and so, yeah, it's just what's happening, who's saying what, and then, reacting and just being really on it. And if I miss a move, I don't sit there and FOMO, because that's also been like a big part of like losing strategy, is like you FOMO, like you think you're in the right spot. And it's like, if it doesn't make sense for me, I'm not going to get involved. It's really that simple. And long may it continue this way.
Yeah, appreciate that, Jedi. And I think that you're spitting facts and echoing a lot of very true sentiment with regards to the market at the moment. Victor, I want to get your take now. I know you are mostly a Bitcoin trader, but is there anything in the altcoin market that has your attention? And if not, maybe you can talk to us about something like Ethereum, which is
Yeah,
which is like an altcoin for people who don't trade altcoins.
yeah. No, I don't have any altcoins on my radar right now because I think with the uncertainty of the market, it's altcoins are just a higher beta asset, and if something good happens, they just accelerate even faster. If something bad happens, they dump even more. So the market is already hard to trade because of all that uncertainty, and playing altcoins is just making your life even more difficult. But ETH, to be fair, has been very clean in terms of the range that we are in. So we talked about BTC, how it's been range bound for a while. Well, ETH and many coins as well have been range bound at the same time, but ETH is a little bit even cleaner than BTC when it comes to that range. So, Perdu, can you please close your stream so I can share mine?
Yeah, I actually want to say one more thing, but okay.
Okay,
Can do it. No, it's fine. You can do it.
I'm actually looking for a potential short on ETH right now. It's very similar to setup to BTC, but I like ETH even more. So on BTC, I mentioned that, or I wanted to mention, but maybe forgot that if we lose the low that we put in today, then this would be a value area high deviation, and we play towards value area low. But on ETH, it's even better. Why? Because we are closer to value area high than BTC. BTC has already kind of pushed past value area high. And you have a better drawn liquidity below value area low with these equal lows. So yeah, I think if we start going down for this week, which is obviously not certain, but if that happens, I think I'm actually gonna short ETH instead of BTC, and it's been a while since I traded something else than BTC. So yeah, ETH looks good. If you look here, the sweep of range highs was even better than the one on BTC. The one on BTC was wider. The sweeps of the value are higher, again, pretty clean with just wicks and then rejecting it. Like ETH has been pretty clean. I might actually just look a little bit more into it in the coming weeks.
Thank you for that, Victor. Want to move on now a little bit as we enter kind of the last 10 minutes here. Maybe this is one for Osbra. So, we kind of spoke about the stock market. We spoke about how Trump had a lot of influence. He is effectively the major catalyst at the moment with the situation in Iran. What he says or doesn't say is going to have a big effect on not just the crypto market, but indeed the stock market. And as we have seen, the commodities market with oil, gold, and silver all reacting to an extreme extent, it must be said. I mean, we had generational tops on gold and silver just over a month ago, and now a generational reversal on oil just yesterday. So it is certainly a time in the market where we're seeing a lot of volatility, a lot of movement, especially based on ongoing escalations or de-escalations in the geopolitical sphere. So I'm just curious, and this is I'm going to go to Osbert first, but then we're going to ask the panel. Uh, do you think that the stock market is due a deeper pullback? And this is something I'm asking this question because I think it's something that we discussed before, but I also saw some posts from, traders that I admire in the space, guys like Trader Main, guys like Crypto Gold. These guys are not necessarily stock traders, but they're mostly crypto traders, but they have been talking about a deeper correction due in the stock market, a potential medium to long-term high being put in this quarter or potentially later in the year, and then seeing a kind of a move down on equities that we haven't really seen in a few years. And I'm just curious to know what your take on this is, or do you have a take on this, Osbra?
Yeah. First, technically, you can see two things on US 500 on S&P, for example. You can think we still range bound, and this happened because of the war and the prices of and the price of crude oil going up. So we had a correction, but we went back inside the range, so we're good to go higher. Or you could see the other way around and see, no, this is a break of structure, and we've put in a lower low, so we are initiating a downtrend. You have these two different point of views. I would say we're back in the range. S&P has been holding this low for a while now, since basically, beginning of February. It's been a month. It's still holding it. The only reason we would see a drop is if we continue to have um, bad earnings. When I say bad earnings, it's especially on the regarding the capex that we talked about the last time. If we continue to see a lot of the companies spend more and more and more, especially into AI, and not to see revenues catching up with the expenses, then yeah, we might see a deeper correction. But I would say now we good to go, and I have the same opinion regarding equities when I have on BTC. If we didn't lose 6,500 on S&P with the risk of a potential World War III, then what else could bring the prices lower? I don't see any reason for now. And yeah, like also like Vic just said, NQ has been a
It's a
ball
good
code,
take.
so we're just
Yeah.
range bound. So I don't really see any other reason that could push everything lower. I think that was the biggest risk. We still have the risk of a recession, but considering the prices of oil went down pretty quickly, then we're just pushing away the risk of the recession. So we're pushing away the risk of printing new lows.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank you for that.
people keep
Jump in there,
forgetting
Perdu.
that like all the big funds will keep pouring money into NQ and ES. It's just an ongoing, infinite process. So I don't think we get that big correction like every trader has been calling for the last 30 or 40 years since the 2008 banking crisis. It just keeps on going and going. It's just designed to go up by default. So I'm not really a big fan of the whole doom scenario like we saw in 2008. But I just wanted to mention one more thing about regarding altcoins. I think for now the best thing to play here is to rotate a bit if you have been long on BTC. Usually, when you had this big impulsive move or like a trending day on Bitcoin, which we saw for the last 2 days, usually Asia is the best time to get positioned into altcoins. I already see it in the Ethereum chart. Is that we're the flow is a bit changing from BTC here, which is stalling at 71.3 towards Ethereum that is taking the lead here. So I think you can get a really nice rotation going into Asia session, and then you risk off in London session tomorrow before CPI, and the CPI data will set the tone for the rest of the week. That's all for me.
Appreciate that, Perdu, and sorry for skipping over you before. It wasn't
Ah,
my
doesn't matter.
intention.
I'm used to it. No, just kidding.
Yeah, you're exactly. Yeah, you're used to being trampled on, so hopefully
Yeah,
that
yeah.
won't hurt your ego too much. Yeah. That's an open question to the panel. I really like Perdu's take there, which is we have seen these opinions come forth before. At any time, any market is frothy. There are always going to be guys saying, "Well, the top is in now." The risk with that is always that you mistime things and end up on the wrong side of the market for an extended period of time and just losing money. But I'm curious to know, does anyone else have an opinion on that? Is the stock market overextended? Are we due a deeper pullback?
I think yes. But I'm not betting on that. I mean, from many points of view, the market is overextended. The price to earnings ratio, how much money is being put into AI, expecting like returns right now, but the returns will come in years and years. I think at some point the market will crash. I don't know if it's gonna be like 2008 type of crash. It will crash at some point. It cannot keep going up. Sometimes you need a reset. But I'm not betting on that. I'm not shorting the market. It would be stupid to short the market if it's going up 90 something percent of the time. I also don't think the top is in. I think we actually see a new all-time high on ES and NQ. And if I were to bet, I would expect a deeper pullback on the market sometimes in late Q2, Q3 this year. Maybe even after midterms if something happens there that the market doesn't like. But yeah, like I said, overall I expect a deeper pullback, but I'm not betting on that.
Just add a little bit more. So yeah, my take is, I think with what we've seen recently, with there being a pullback, I think if we were going to get a deeper pullback early on this year, I think it likely would have happened already. The fact that we've just been sideways, like it's been like like I just saw in the chat, like barcode market for the last like few months. Really, it's just been chopping sideways. A couple of things is like, just because things settle down. So if like what's going on with the whole Iran situation, just because that settles down doesn't necessarily mean that everything is going to start flying again. So I think that's something that people need to be aware of, is it really depends if the demand is still there. I think it goes for both sides of the market right now. The reason why we're seeing things so choppy is because it's risky for both like long or short. So if there's people wanting to hedge against the market, and if there's people wanting to short, there is still a risk there now, because things are so volatile and so choppy. So what happens when things settle down? It doesn't mean that it just has to start moving up again. Because if the demand's not there and people then feel more confident to stay in short positions, which could just be a very normal thing, just because there's like, it's just things are settling down, and there's a lot more opportunity if prices pull back a little bit more. That can still happen. I think it's not like, I still think there's probably a slightly higher probability that we do start floating up again afterwards, but it's not a guarantee. Also, because we've got the midterm elections coming up, it's fairly unlikely that we're going to be dumping into that. So if it is going to happen, I would be looking at things settle down. Everyone expects the market to go up. Maybe it does momentarily, but then there's something else that comes along that just creates that supply. The demand isn't quite there, and then we do see that more sustained downtrend. Not because there's uncertainty in the world, because that just generally creates volatility, but just because there is a downtrend that forms, and that's what's gonna overpower the rest. So that's my thoughts. Really is, yeah, don't just assume it's going to go flying as soon as things settle down, because there's always going to be something else that comes along.
Sure, and you can stay there for a second, Luke. I've just asked, do we think, and this is the final question of the show, we're going to call it after this, do you think that the BTC monthly candle ends or closes green or red? At the moment, it's green by a couple of $1,000, more than a couple of thousand, few thousand. Do you think that we're going to close green or red?
I think green.
Green.
Uh,
Green.
I'll share my chart to explain why I think it's gonna be green. Just gonna be really quick. I think it's gonna be green because the monthly open is right here, so close to value area low. So simply speaking, from a statistics perspective, even if we stay range bound, there is a higher chance that we close the month in this area of the range rather than this area, just because this is closer to value area low. So for me, like, the only scenario where we close the month red is if we get a drop just before the month ends, which is not very likely from a statistical point of view, or if we exit the range to the downside this month, which I think is too soon for that. So yeah, that's why I think it's more likely that we close it green than red.
He's going to say
Oh,
red.
sorry, I'm muted. Yeah, Osbra?
What price did it open at? What was the open?
67.
67. Oh,
We're
shit.
71.2 now.
But you all said green, so you trapped me. Someone has to say red. So I will bet on red. I will bet on red. Yeah, red.
Okay. Jedi?
Yeah, I'm also going to go with red.
Am I right in saying the last time we just had 5 monthly candles in a row, and the last time we had 5 monthly candles, red monthly candles in a row, BTC was trading at like $4,000 or something. It was
I
like
checked.
yeah.
The last time it happened was in 2018, and that time we had 6 red monthly candles in a row. And yeah, it was like $4,000. And the only other time when BTC had 5 bearish months in a row was in 2013 or 2012, and it was a couple $100 at that time. So definitely unprecedented times. But I talked last stream about why it doesn't really matter if we had 5 bearish candles in a row. It doesn't mean that the 6th one has to be bullish.
No, because actually,
Chris,
do you
okay?
know if you flip heads on a coin like 6 times in a row, it's more likely that the 7th will be a tails because it's due then. You're It's
Yeah, that's how
you're
I
owed
lost all my money.
the coin owes you a tails at that point because
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
been too many heads. Yeah,
Yeah.
few traders understand this one simple rule to
Go and play roulette with that strategy. It's
Well,
gonna work.
thank
so
God we're
nice.
flipping coins.
Yeah.
Thank God we're flipping coins.
That's an interesting Wikipedia page, by the way. Gambler's fallacy. If you ever want to do some
And Follis,
some reading,
what's your take?
some reading into actually what we do. My take is, I mean, I guess I'll go green. I want to say red just to be a contrarian. I've said it already. I actually thought that we would have a green month, and I thought we would have chop. I don't think this is going to be the reversal candle that bulls want, but I think that it's going to be choppy but closing green. I think the leg down, the next trending move we get will be a leg down, but I don't think that probably comes until April or May. I think then we get a choppy somewhere between 40 and 50K. And I think that the eventual move that the Bulls have been waiting for won't come until Q3, Q4, and by which time even the most steadfast Bulls will have given up. It'll be time capitulation, exactly like we saw in 2022. I don't know, do you guys remember that? But we had a summer full of choppy, low volume, range bound PA that eventually went to like 17K towards the end of the year, and then, or sorry, it was like 14.5K actually, and then rallied pretty hard after that for a few years. But anyway, it's all speculation, isn't it? All idle speculation. And unless anyone else has anything to add, we are going to call it there. So I want to first of all thank our handsome, intelligent panel of Chads. We had Osbra, Jedi, Victor, Luke, and Perdu. I want to thank all of the members for spending an hour of your time with us. We always try to give you the maximum value for your time, so thank you for trusting us with that. And we will be back next week with another edition of the Chroma Team Roundtable. Until then, try not to get liquidated, and we will see you next time. All right, guys, peace out. Bye-bye.
Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.